All right, everybody, we are live. Welcome to this week's edition of Fights and Rap. Today, I am joined by my beautiful co-hosts. We are reunited again. That's right, all three of us. We have Alec Carr and Dustin Hunt with me. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And before we get into our few headlines, and then we gotta talk about this major pay-per-view coming up this weekend, we are gonna do our due diligence and pay our bills. So let's talk about our sponsors real quick. Alec Carr, let's do the sponsors, then we'll do the handles, okay?
All right, guys. If you're getting up there in age and your hair's turning white like mine is, but you still want to work out or go do things like you did in your 20s, you're going to want to check out rxhemp.com. I use the stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. It's CBD, ointments, gels, creams, all kinds of different stuff for recovery, muscle recovery in particular. I use it after every workout I do. And before I started using it, I was lost. So guys, make sure you check out rxhemp.com and use promo code rxhemp-usn to get 10% off your entire order. And I know I'm not the betting person, but I know Monique's placing bets, and I'm almost certain Dustin will place a bet on this weekend's card. Not to mention, NBA playoffs are in full swing. My Sixers won game one somehow without the newly announced MVP of the league, Joel Embiid. Sorry, just had to throw that out there. But if you're going to be placing bets this weekend, please visit mybookie.ag today and use promo code USN100 for a 100% sign up bonus.
All right, thank you, Alec. And before we get into our headlines real quick, we wanted to just run over our handles and where to find us and how we got together. So, Alec, since this was always your idea, why don't you start with where they can find you and how they can find all of us here on Fights Unwrapped and also Unwrapped Sports?
Okay, guys, as always, you can find me at Alicar MMA on Twitter, and please at me. Please get in controversy with me. I love the argument. So please, if you disagree with something, let me know. We'll fight about it. You can find Monique at Monique Yip on all socials, I believe, right, Monique? And you can find Dustin at No Censor Sports. You can also make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Fights Unwrapped or Fights USN. And make sure you like and subscribe and hit that little bell on our YouTube channel as well. And you guys can find all of us at Unwrapped Sports Network. It's a wonderful sports network that's got it's a little bit different than what you're used to. It's on the ground. People, we're all fans of the sports that we report on. So it's absolutely incredible. Monique's in Toronto. I'm in Pennsylvania. We got people down over all the way in California. And all over the world, technically. So make sure you guys check out on Rep Sports Network.
Dustin is officially in Northeast Ohio, so shout out to the land.
And Dustin is back in the land.
Nice, nice. All right. Thank you, Alec, for that. And also, shout out to Boxing MMA 365, one of our loyal subscribers and followers of the show. So thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Okay, guys, let's get into our two headlines, and then we're going to talk about this beautiful pay-per-view that's happening this weekend. First and foremost, this headline is one of Alec Carr's, I don't know if it's your favorite thing to talk about. It seems like it, but we're going to bring it up because he brought up this headline, and I saw this headline as well, and I'm sure Dustin knows what we're going to talk about. It's Francis Ngannou again, but now he's in the headlines for again another mishap, another, like, I don't know how to describe it, like discouraging kind of tweet article about his career. So I'm gonna go to Alec because Alec brought this up, and I'm gonna put the little image in our screen right here. Alec, if you want to just give a little bit of context on why we brought up Francis Ngannou for the nth time Go ahead. This is your chance to do so.
So, as everybody knows, we've been following the Francis Ngannou story very closely. It's one that I'm pretty passionate about and have a rant of the week almost every time we talk about this ignorant person. Let's say that. I don't think he's stupid. I just think he doesn't have the knowledge in his brain to negotiate contracts. So the CEO of One Championship has announced that they, after heavily pursuing and almost agreeing to everything Francis Ngannou wanted, the contract negotiations have broken down. This is now the third, not including boxing contract negotiations, this is now the third contract negotiation that has broken down for Francis Ngannou. And when something happens 3 times to the same person, they might want to start looking in the mirror, because this is pretty blatant. Now, the owner of One Championship is very respectful. He's not like the owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting, who pretty much just just roasted Francis Ngannou for asking for way too much money. He's basically saying that they were there on the money, but he was asking for too much other things. Is essentially what he's saying. He said that way more in an interview about it, but essentially, to break it down, that Francis Ngannou was asking for way too much auxiliary stuff to be included into his contract. I have a feeling this is exactly what happened with the UFC. He asked for the money. The UFC gave him the money. Then he asked for more. I have a feeling, I don't know what you guys think, I have a feeling that he told One Championship that he wants to box, as he wants to be able to box as well as fight for an MMA promotion. And that's when One Championship said, go fuck yourself. I don't know why, who is in his ear telling him that he should be able to box and fight for a major MMA promotion at the same time. That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. I mean, it's like, every once in a while, a football player also plays baseball, but that's very rare and has only happened, I think, a handful of times. So the Deion Sanders, Bo Jackson, and I think there's 2 others that are escaping my mind that I can think of. But even then, it is very, very rare that another player that plays for a major sport or major organization has permission from that sport or organization to go play another sport. Boxing is a different sport, and he's putting himself at risk for injury, which would hurt their bottom line. He's not going to be able to negotiate a contract where he can do MMA and box at the same time, unless he wants to go to low levels and earn no money. Mm-hmm. This is just, I just got to say this, guys. Can we just admit now that the contract negotiations that the UFC broke down because of Francis Ngannou? I mean, there are some people now saying well, it's pretty clear that the managers should not, the UFC, essentially that the UFC is behind this and have blacklisted him from fighting in any other promotion. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Bellator, One Championship, PFL would love to sign Francis Ngannou. They would love to. But Francis Ngannou wants too much. He's not worth that much. He has never broken 500,000 PPV buys. In fact, I don't think he's ever broke. He's only done, I think the most he's ever done is 400. That is abysmal for a heavyweight champion. Abysmal. I mean, there's people on the list, and I'll pass it up to you guys right after this. But there's people on the list that are, you would be shocked. I don't have it pulled up, but there are people on the list like the Miocic Cormier fight. The third fight did more than Francis Ngannou has ever done. The Brock, I think one of Brock Lesnar's fights did more than Francis Ngannou's ever done. There are guys who are lesser athletes in UFC that have done more PPV buys than he has. So of course you're not going to be able to go box. You're not. Whoever's whispering in your ear that you're Conor McGregor, you need to fire them, Francis Ngannou. You need to get rid of them. You're not Conor McGregor. You're not going to get this $100 million boxing contract and be able to come right back to MMA. Also, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, Conor McGregor had to vacate his belt and leave the UFC roster in order to go fight Floyd Mayweather. That's a fact. He had to leave the UFC to go do it. Not even Conor McGregor, the face of the UFC, whether anyone wants to admit that or not, he is still the face of the UFC, was not allowed to stay with the promotion and go box. He had to leave.
Mhm.
He had to leave. And now the UFC granted that because they roped the UFC and Dana White into the money-making opportunity in Floyd Mayweather. So there's a lot of things that Conor McGregor had to do in order to go box. And Conor McGregor has the top 3 PPV buys in UFC history.
Mhm.
So I don't know what it's going to take. Either these are the two. This is the two things. Either Francis Ngannou doesn't want to fight, or Francis Ngannou is just ignorant and doesn't know how to negotiate contracts, and is the perfect example of predatory managers in MMA. Those are the two things. It's one or the other. This has nothing to do with the promotions not wanting to give him. He's been granted. The UFC offered him $8 million over 3 fights. He would become the highest paid fighter in UFC history.
I'll come in here when it comes to Francis Ngannou. So, like, when it comes to trading off the sports, here's my thing about that. Like, one championships, like there's promotions, one championships in PFL and smaller MMA promotions that are looking to get bigger and grow. If they aren't even willing to succumb to your terms, you have a fucking problem.
Mhm.
Like, you have a serious problem on your hands. I don't think you realize how bad that is. That one championship that's nowhere near the muscle or the pay-per-view value or was worth as much money as the UFC, was willing to even give you money, but won't succumb to your bullshit. So here's another thing about Francis Ngannou when it comes to boxing and shit. If you want to box, man, like, boxing is seriously a sport that needs to be fucking respected. Like, I love boxing. I'm a big boxing fan, dude. If you want to face guys like Fury, guys like Usyk, guys like Wilder and shit like that, it's going to take full-time dedication. You cannot train MMA and sit there and kickbox and wrestle while you're over here trying to train to fight one of the best heavyweights, some of the best heavyweights that ever walked in the fucking ring. It doesn't make any sense. All the promoters know that. They all know that, dude. They're not going to give you money because you want to go and get your ass beat by Tommy Fury. Not Tommy Fury, I'm sorry, but Tyson Fury.
Mhm.
It doesn't make any sense. Another thing is, Francis, I want you to swallow this. They're more willing to throw events for Jake Paul than you.
Mhm.
They're more willing to put PBC fighters and shit like that in the ring with a guy like that more than they are than you. And it's not because you're more dangerous, because you don't hit harder than Wilder. You don't hit harder than Fury. You're not a better striker than any of these guys. Shit, I barely even think you're a better boxer than Jake Paul. Pure boxer? Maybe not. And here's where it comes into the fact of the UFC and one are not obligated to deal with your bullshit when it comes to all that extra shit you want. You don't think the UFC wanted to sign Francis?
Mhm.
Francis Ngannou and John Jones would have been a fucking legendary fight. UFC Hall of Fame, guaranteed. I think that would have been a great fight. Francis is more well-rounded than Cyril Gane. I don't think that John Jones would have just took down Francis. I don't think he would have just tripped him down and made him look like a child. It would have been a fight. It would have been a little bit more entertaining, and John Jones would have to be even more careful because I think Francis Ngannou is more explosive than Cyril Gane. So therefore, it comes to a certain point where Francis Ngannou, and you say that like it's like a manager being predatory. Here's the fucking problem. Like, what are you predatoring about? Like, what are you a predator of? Because you're not making any money. This dude hasn't fought in years. The manager has to be pissed off if he's in this situation. Like, bro, I'm supposed to get 10% of this or 20% of this. There ain't shit to get 20% off of. So I don't know what the manager's doing. I don't get it. No, he's not Conor McGregor. And another thing is, like, Being the best fighter does not mean you're a PPV draw. GSP was not a bigger PPV draw than Conor. And do I think Conor's a better all-around fighter than GSP? No. No. So therefore, do I think that BJ Penn in his prime was one of the best? BJ Penn was probably one of the guys I'll say had PPV draw and was one of the best fighters in his prime. He had both. He had a big mouth and he could fight, just like Conor. And Conor is well-rounded, but he's not as good as guys like GSP. I think he's a bigger draw than Anderson Silva. And do I think he's a better all-around fighter than Anderson Silva? Fuck no. Conor McGregor has 2 of the top 3 PPV buys in UFC history. They belong to him. In the top 3, too. That's crazy. That's crazy. Floyd Mayweather is the only one who beat Conor McGregor in PPV buys, and that was with Pacquiao. So imagine how big of a fight it took to surpass Conor's legacy when it came to PPV buys. Floyd's only done it. And one of his fights with Floyd is still in the top 5. So you got to realize that shit. Francis, I don't know what you're doing, bro, but you need to get back into that damn ring. You need to get back into the octagon. If you want to go box, then just do that. Go train, go make a promoter think you're serious and not take you as a joke, and he might sign you and he might let you do that. Or you can try your own promotion, negotiate yourself, but you can't even negotiate with one championship. So, bro, you're fucked. How are you going to do business with Bob Arum when you can't even get past one championship? That's not going to happen, brother. It's just not going to happen. I don't know what you're thinking.
I just want to update you, not to interrupt you, Dustin, but if you check the comments, we have some pretty good comments on the board right now. Monique, I can't post them to the screen for whatever reason. But 2 hours ago, there was an update. This is from the CEO of One Championship. He said he was asking for a seat on the board of directors. He was asking for him to determine his opponent's pay. He went on to say we offered him 16 million euros, which is $20 million guaranteed. The money wasn't enough. He wanted all of these other non-financial terms that didn't make a lot of sense. We obviously can't give a seat at the board of directors. That doesn't make any sense. He would be a fish out of water.
And let me understand this, man. Like, dude, you don't just fucking get sat into a company like that. Like Wiz Khalifa, okay, so you go like, I'm gonna say a rapper, dude. It's a rapper. He is literally an investor, and so is The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and PFL and shit like that. The reason they have board of director seats, the reason they have a lot of good deals with these fucking companies, because they put money into them.
Mm-hmm.
They put money into them. They didn't fight for them. They put money, real capital, real collateral. You cannot just walk your big ass into a big major promotion and be like, I want a seat on the board of directors. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like,
and $20 million.
Like, get the fuck out of here, man. No wonder no one wants to do business with you. I wouldn't want to do business with you either. You're trying to take over my company, and you're trying to get me for $20 million guaranteed. I was cool with the $20 million guaranteed and let you just be an athlete. But I understand if you don't want to just be an athlete, you want to own your own shit, then do that, though. Take that $20 million, start your own company, do what the fuck you want to do. Have your little health care for fighters if you want that. Do whatever you got to do, but don't expect another organization to just let you own their fucking company. That doesn't make any sense. And there's no financial literacy in the world that tells you that you can just walk into a major company that's worldwide shown, that you can just walk in and be a fucking chairman, dude. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Not one cent. Not one bit.
Well, to expand on that, Dustin, like you only get a certain seat, like certain amount of seats for a board of directors, and it's a very lengthy process to add a seat, and it's very expensive to add a seat to board of directors.
You have to be qualified in general in business. You need to know what the fuck you're talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He can't even get a contract to one. Come on, bro. You can't even swindle one FC. You're fucked. If you can't do that, you don't belong in anybody's board of directors.
I just want to say this. It depends on the fight, how many fights was offered. We don't know that with the $20 million guaranteed.
If it was 3 to 4 fights, how many millions a fight? 20 million divided by 4. I mean, come on, bro. If they'd had a 4 fight,
it would have made him the highest paid athlete in MMA, and it wouldn't have been even close. But Monique, Dustin and I have been talking a lot. So how do you feel about Francis?
I mean, you guys kind of hit it on the nail for pretty much all the reasons why I think he needs either new representation or maybe a combination of all these things, like new representation, and then also just like the man's gotta chill. Like he like you guys said, he acts like he's Conor McGregor, but he's asking for all of these things where he should be able to get like half these things himself, like all these sponsorships, all whatever it is, right? That he wanted from the UFC. He's doing this to one. I mean, you can't just, even though I get it, you're Francis Ngannou, you're a big name, but at the end of the day, you are just like a fighter who didn't get that many pay-per-view buys, and you're just trying to get, trying to get as much. Like, he's just greedy right now. He's greedy without any justification of being greedy, and that's biting him in the ass right now. And like, are we surprised that any of this happened? No, not at all. And I don't know where he goes from there. Do I feel sorry for him? Hell no, because like, he's a grown ass man. He's a grown ass man that literally made really bad decisions and is clearly making even worse decisions. So I mean, at this point, I feel like it's a lost cause. Francis Ngannou, like, I don't really give a shit where you end up. You just have to somehow end up somewhere that will justify the means to an end, because clearly it's not working for either party. It's not working for these promotions, and it's not working for you. So something's got to change, whether it's you or your representation. Something's got to change, and that's kind of how I see it. So anyways, guys, do you have any closing thoughts before we move on to the next headline?
He's gonna end up groveling back to the UFC, and they're gonna offer him $600,000, and he's gonna be forced to take it because he has no. This is a man that has no other money-making opportunities. There's the only thing that makes sense to me is he's clearly run out of money. And he's got nothing left, and he's desperate and thinks he deserves to be paid $20 million plus an ownership, board of directors seat. He's gonna end up groveling back to the UFC, and they're gonna give him the same contract he had when he left.
When he goes back to the UFC's board, bro, they are going to ream him, and he's gonna crawl back, bro. They're gonna fuck him. They're just gonna say,
yeah.
Because the boxing negotiations have broken down too. He's been offered fights for Fury. He's been offered fights for Wilder. Like, these are things that have broken down, and we don't know why. And it's become clear why. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out of his element, and he's just ignorant to the fact on how businesses work. That's all.
That's for sure, guys. So, Dustin, did you have anything else to say before we move on to the next headline?
Nope. I mean, other than the fact that he's gonna be scrounging for change here in about a year and a half, guarantee it. So.
Oh, for sure. I think we're all in agreement with that. I think we all agree that this is like the Francis Ngannou story. It's just taking a really bad turn for the worse right now. But who cares? Let's talk about the next headline, which is a little bit more exciting and a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. Let's talk about Kamaru Usman calling out Khamzat Chimaev as his next fight. Wow. Like Alex said before we started the stream, somebody is calling out Khamzat and not the other way around. So I'm going to give it to Alec first, because Alec was the one who posted these two headlines. And if you want to give just a little bit of context on to why this is a headline and why you brought it up, go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, so Kamaru Usman, which this is shocking for me, because I thought Usman wanted nothing to do with Khamzat. I mean, his past comments were essentially that that Khamzat doesn't deserve to fight him, and that he's not ready yet, and then he's got to beat Colby first. But now Usman's not champ, and lost the belt once, and lost his contention fight. So I think this fight makes sense. Colby's running away from everybody, so we're not going to see him fight anytime soon, which I'm honestly shocked there hasn't been a Usman Colby fight announced yet. But So I just think this makes sense. I love the fight. I think it's great. And Hazmat, listen, the way I don't think Usman. It's just shocking to me because no one wants to fight Hazmat for a reason, right? Everyone's running away from him for a reason because he's a fucking animal. The guy's a beast. So I'm still a little shocked about this call out. It's it's weird to see Usman calling out anyone, period, because we're so used to him being champion. And not having to make call-outs because he was champion, and I still think he's one of the greatest fighters of all time. He's an absolute monster. But listen, Usman, your knees are done. Your hands are done. And for him to call out Chimaev, I mean, I don't really know what he's thinking with this one. That's not somebody who you would want to fight to get back into contention if I'm Usman. But, I hope this fight happens. I hope it goes through. I hope contracts are signed. I hope the UFC actually offers this. One, because we need to see Hazmat in the fucking octagon again. And two, this is a money fight. This is a huge money fight. This could headline a PPV as a non-championship bout. Like, that's how big this would be. So I really hope this happens. I know Hazmat is not able to fight until October, and I know he had some issues with work visas and all kinds of stuff. So, but apparently that's all cleared up, and he'll be able to fight in October. And we all thought it would be Costa, but I'd rather see Usman versus Chimaev. One, because I think it will be a better fight because Usman's a better fighter than Costa, and two, because they're both beasts. And what could happen is wrestling could be negated because Usman is a fantastic wrestler, and it could turn into a stand-up. But anyway, I don't really want to break down the fight until we know it's actually happening. This was just a shocking headline that popped up today, and I was like, damn, Usman. I gotta give you credit, man. Calling out Hazmat, calling out the guy nobody wants to fight. So I hope it happens. I just really hope it happens, guys.
Yeah, okay, Dustin, do you have any thoughts on this, interesting call out by Kamaru Usman?
I think Chimaev should be a little nervous about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna be real. And the reason I'm gonna say it is because the reason he wasn't trying to take fights at Chimaev when he was champ and had his legacy and all that shit was because obviously he didn't want to fight some young guy that he thought could beat him. That's obvious. And Leon took that away, man. Leon took that legacy away. Leon only beat him once, beat him twice. And in the second fight, did it pretty handedly, in my opinion. So therefore, he took Usman's mystique away. So therefore, I think the whole reason he's calling him out is this is a fucking fight. I have zero to lose. I'm old. I'm going to retire. I don't think I'm going to beat Leon again. I'll never beat him again. I think he knows that. He's not going to beat Leon Edwards twice another time. He's not going to be a champion again. I think he's yelling out Chimaev to really say, this is a fucking, I'm retiring and I'm going to go all out. This is a dangerous fight for Chimaev. I'm going to be honest. Like, if I was him, I would realize the situation around that. He's going to retire, and he's going to give Chimaev every fucking ounce of what he's got for 5 rounds. Guarantee it. And to be honest with you, Chimaev is not a better wrestler than Usman. He's not. Usman's a fucking monster. He's huge. Honestly, dude, I don't even know how he makes 170. I don't. He looks like I don't know. I don't know what the hell he does. But he makes 170 magically. And I'm telling you right now, Chimaev should be nervous about that fight. This is a guy that has zero to lose anymore. He's already proven himself. He's already one of the best 170 guys in ever. He's already had his reign. He's got it, man. He doesn't need to prove shit. He's going to go up against you and put it on the line. He's going to take risk. He's going to do a lot of shit in that octagon because he's probably just going to retire either he wins or loses. I really see that. So therefore, Chimaev might want to press his brakes about talking shit to Kamaru Usman. I'm just going to be real. I think Kamaru Usman's just as good as a wrestler, if not better. And I think he might have better hands. The only thing I'll give Kamaru Usman, not Kamaru Usman, but Chimaev, he might have a stronger punch. He might have a stronger stick. When Chimaev sticks you, it's a little bit harder, but at the same time, Kamaru does the same shit. Look at the way he knocked out Jorge. I mean, yeah, Jorge is not the best, but Jorge ain't been knocked out like that ever. And Kamaru Usman put his ass on ice. I mean, let's be real. Knocked his sweat across the fucking arena. So Usman's got just as much pop. He knocked down Gilbert. I mean, dude, he did a lot of shit. Broke Kobe's jaw. Like, so therefore, I think Chimaev has a little bit more to worry about than he thinks of. And he probably should, he should probably go after Adesanya, if you ask me. I think that's a better fight for him. Fighting Kamaru Usman, I don't know about that one, man. I think he needs to calm down with that shit talking and just be humble a little bit. Because I think Kamaru is going to give him something that he's better than Gilbert Burns. I'm going to say that right now. Gilbert Burns gave you a tough fight. Wait till you go 5 rounds to Kamaru Usman. Just wait. It's not as easy. It's harder than Gilbert, so I don't know, man. But good luck. Good luck, Chimaev. I'm your fan, and I hope he does do well. But I think Kamaru's going to give him something that he is not expecting. Not expecting at all.
Yeah, I think that Dustin has a really good point. And also Alec, obviously. It's just that my opinion on this fight is that I think that Chimaev will face, if he faces Kamaru Usman, is going to face somebody that he's never faced before, in my opinion. Like somebody who is a really good wrestler, who has a really good jab, and I think that he's like obviously really well respected. He's up in the top 5, right? And I think that with Chimaev, that's somebody that he's never faced before, like that caliber at level of competition. He's never faced anyone like that before. So I think that even like Gilbert Burns, obviously I love Gilbert Burns. I'm not saying he's not that level of caliber, but I just think that, once you get to championship status and things like that, like you're obviously like Kamaru Usman is so well respected as a welterweight champ. And I would love to see him against someone like Chimaev. It's just that with Chimaev, he has that a little bit of a history of missing weight, and it's just that I don't know if he's going to be able to make 170 again healthily. I'm not sure about that. That's why I'm not really holding my breath when it comes to this fight, even though I would love to see it, just like Alec and Dustin have said. That's just how I see it, guys. Do you have any more thoughts on this before we move on to our main card of the weekend?
Just that it would be a hell of a fight. I honestly have no idea how it would play out. I'm trying to wrap my mind around it still. It's just like, yeah, Kamaru Usman might be the better technical wrestler, like Dustin said, but Chimaev is a fucking monster and relentless with his takedowns. And then he's got, I wouldn't say he's got a little bit of power. This guy is one-punch knockout power. Usman's never faced anything like him either. So it's just really interesting and intriguing to me. We'll see what happens. I have a feeling that we're going to hear Khamzat Costa officially announced probably in June. I don't think this is going to happen. Dana White's been pretty hardcore. He's fighting in the middleweight division. So I think that's what we see here. And I think the UFC probably wants Usman versus Colby.
Yeah, probably. You might be right. I have MMA Jesus 420 saying that Khamzat would kill Usman. So I know Dustin has some thoughts about that, but it's just thank you. Yeah, we'll see about that if it goes to fruition. Thank you, MMA Jesus 420.
Thank you for the comment, but we all disagree with it.
We all disagree with it. All of it. Heavily.
Okay, no worries, guys. That's why we do this. This is why we have our show. It creates discussion and engagement amongst our fans. So thank you very much for that. Now let us talk about this pay-per-view that like almost got ruined because Okay, I can't say that because UFC 289 is in my country of Canada, and I'm going to it, and it was saved by the fact that Charles Oliveira had an injury, so I can't really say that this pay-per-view almost got ruined. But anyways, point is that it almost got ruined, but that's fine because guess what? We have UFC 289 now with Man Nunes and Juliana Pena, and fine, whatever about that. But then now we have Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. So, it is what it is, guys. Let's talk about this pay-per-view. Let's talk about the first fight. It is a featherweight fight between Gracie versus Jordan. Okay, so that is the first fight. I'm going to pull it up real quick, but I'm going to get Dustin's feedback first. Who do you think is going to win this fight? Is it going to be Gracie, one of the Gracie, part of the Gracie family, or is it going to be the Canadian Mr. Jordan?
I've always wanted to see a Gracie, like a modern Gracie, do well in the UFC. I thought Kron was going to be there. Obviously not. But I always root for Gracies. I always do. Like I'm very partial to that. I would love to see it. It's supposed to happen. I don't know how it hasn't happened yet. I don't know how one Gracie descendant has not gotten somewhere in the modern day MMA. Hopefully it does. I'm cheering for Gracie at that point. When it comes to the two fighters, I don't know too much about either of them, but I will say I'm rooting for Gracie. I'll give it that.
Okay, Alec, who do you think is gonna win this fight?
It's tough because Chrome Gracie's, obviously he's a Gracie, so he's an incredible Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. Charles Jordan is definitely gonna have a chip on his shoulder for this one. Coming off of 2 losses, I believe, against Burgos and Wood. And he's a much better fighter than that. So I'm actually going to go with Jordan. I think he's going to pull this out. I think he's going to have a definite bone to pick in this one, and definitely want to prove that he's a much better fighter than he's looked in his past 2 fights. Real quick, prelim shout-outs. You got Drew Dauber on the prelim, so make sure you guys tune into that. You got Kennedy Zinchikwu on the prelim, so make sure you tune into that. You got a new heavyweight, Braxton Smith. And then you have somebody I'm excited about, even though he hasn't looked great since the Contender Series victory. You got Joseph Holmes, who's an absolute beast of a striker. Hopefully he's worked on his ground game. But make sure you guys are tuning into the prelims as well. I'm also very happy that Movzar, who we're going to talk about next, got a fight and got rescheduled. So, thank God.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Non-disclosure, guys. If anyone did not know this from the beginning of the show, I am Canadian, so you would think this is the only reason why I'm going to choose Jordan. No, that's not the only reason. Number one, I think he's more well-rounded than Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie has amazing jiu-jitsu. It's pretty obvious, but I think that's pretty much all he has to him, and he's been kind of a disappointment to me. And I've always been a huge Brazilian jiu-jitsu fan and practitioner, so everybody knows that about me. So the fact that if I think that some person and fighter who is a huge jiu-jitsu practitioner is not going to win this fight is pretty, it should show what I mean in terms of like thinking that Jordan is the better fighter. I think he is too, and the fact that he has a switch stance is going to confuse Kron Gracie. I think when it comes to the actual stand-up portion of the fight, if it stays standing up, I don't know what's going to happen, but I think that Jordan has a really good chance of winning this fight. If Gracie wins, not going to be surprised. If he subs him, again, not going to be surprised, but I think that Jordan's a better fighter, and his fight IQ is going to prevail in this fight. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next fight, which is a women's strawweight fight between Jessica Andrade versus
Monique.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Movzar Evloev and Diego Lopez is next. It was just announced that he's taking the fight on short notice. Diego Lopez.
Okay. I think the ESPN
It's
ones are
wrong.
not did. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, hold on. Let me fix this. Okay, what's the freaking ESPN? You would think that they would like have everything together. But anyways, what's called? Alec, why don't you start this off first, and then once I get everything back and running, then we'll continue on with the regular scheduled programming.
Yeah, so Movsar was supposed to take on Bryce Mitchell in this one. He was actually short notice filling for Bryce Mitchell, who I forget who he was supposed to originally fight. Bryce Mitchell got hurt, apparently doing farm work, which I don't know what you're doing if you're getting injured doing, like, you should be training, not doing farm work. Anyway, so this fight was almost dead and done for, but it was recently announced that Movsar Evloev will be fighting Diego Lopez. So this is actually, Movsar is one that I love. This guy, man. I mean, the guy's an absolute terrifying stud in the featherweight division and is coming up quickly. A win against Bryce Mitchell would have leapfrogged him. So I'm a little upset that that's not happening. Props for Diego for taking this fight on such short notice. But he's gonna get his ass whooped. There's not a single place in the fight that Movsar isn't better in. I mean, this is a guy that's a legitimate potential title contender. Like, he has title contender written all over him. So it's going to be an entertaining fight, but one that will be over quickly. I don't know how it ends. I'm going to say let's call it a shocking knockout in the second round. Okay.
Alec Carr predicting what's going to happen in this fight. Dustin, I know you just joined again real quick. Who do you think is going to win? I think I have a feeling who you're going to say, because you usually cheer for those Russians, right? Oh, I think
you're muted.
So it's not because he's a Russian, it's because he's an obviously superior fighter. To be honest, I don't know why. I mean, I guess they couldn't find anybody else. They just wanted to save the card. Mm-hmm. But this is an obviously superior guy. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even think it's close. And he's that dude's gonna get shown some. No, this is a terrible fight. It's a terrible. I know, like, in the main card, Evloev's a big name, but at the same time, that guy they put against him, you couldn't find anybody else. You couldn't find anybody else, because that dude's about to get. He's not gonna get outclassed all 3 rounds. No. He's going to the big leagues from no league. That don't make sense to me. But he's an experienced guy, but not like this. He's never really fought too many big names in the UFC. He has not even experience in the UFC. So therefore, no. Evloev is gonna dominate this dude.
Yeah, true. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Evloev, if people don't know who he is, I don't know what rock you're living under, but he made Dan Ige look like a fool on his feet. Like, just like, his striking is absolutely incredible. Like, absolutely incredible. He could switch things. He could take you anywhere on his feet. He's also got decent ground game. Like, he is just a stud. So, yeah, no chance.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Alec, for that. Thank you, Dustin, as well. Let's move on to what I was going to say originally. Was supposed to be the second bout, but it ended up being the third bout. So, let me just add Dustin real quick again. Thank you, Dustin. Perfect. Just in time for the next bout, we have the women's strawweight fight, Jessica Andrade versus Yan Xiaonan. I can't believe I almost butchered that, and that's like my sister from another mister. So, anyways, point is that we have a really great strawweight fight, and I think I'll go first because I guess you guys kind of self-proclaim me as this like women's MMA expert. I find it really hard to judge this fight because they're pretty much neck and neck in terms of like skill wise. Jessica Andrade, I think honestly is the better fighter, but not by much. I think that her striking is a little bit more crisp than Yao Jiannan. Even though Yang Jiannan is part of Team Alpha Male, which I know that really well, and they have been having a lot of success recently. But I think that Jessica Andrade, I think she has a chip on her shoulder because she has that loss against Erin Blanchfield, which was not fun to witness, and I'm pretty sure she wants a win back. So that's why I think Jessica Andrade is going to win this fight. I'm going to go to Dustin. Dustin, who do you think is going to win this women's strawweight bout?
I'll give it to Andrade. I mean, she's 2 out of 3 right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those fights. Like honestly, like that division is getting to a point where, like they're trying to throw shit against the wall and hope it sticks. Like that's they're kind of trying to bring fights together in the top 10 or the top 15, and like I don't get the matchmaking. It's probably the timing because people are getting title shots and shit like that. But it's coming to a point where Andrade is the better fighter. I don't think Zhao's going to win that fight at all. Like I said, I think it's one of those. I think it's going to be a good fight. I don't think that Andrade's going to kill her, but I think Andrade's easily the better fighter, in my opinion. Watching both of them, I don't think she's the better striker, but when it comes to grappling, if Andrade gets hands around her, yeah, no, I think it's going to be a blowout as soon as she gets her hands on.
Okay, Alec, who do you think is going to win this women's strawweight belt?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one to pick because I think they're in my opinion, I think they're pretty even in skill level. Yan is we all know her for her stand up. She's incredible to watch to put together the combination she does. She coming off that majority decision against Mackenzie Dern. This is tough for me because Dustin's right. If Andrade gets her hands on her and is able to take her down, that's her weakness. I mean, that's her clear path to victory. The thing is, it's easier said than done, right? Because Yan is just she's got good takedown defense. So it's hard for me to pick. I'm gonna be a contrarian here. And I'm going to go against you guys just because I have a gut feeling that Jan's going to win this fight because I think Andrade will be suckered into a stand-up fight, which I don't want to see. I'm going to be rooting for Andrade. I love watching her fight. She's one of my favorite women's fighters, but I think Jan pulls this out. I think she turns this into a striking match and gets a decision victory here.
All right, so clearly we're at odds, but that's okay. That makes the show really interesting. But let's move on to the co-main event. My gosh, guys, I don't even want to talk about this fight. Like, to be honest with you, like a lot of people are excited about it, but I'm not too excited about it because we have a welterweight bout between Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. Now, I love Gilbert Burns. Everybody knows that about me. It's just that, like, man, I just feel like it's gonna be kind of an easy fight or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like on the minority of people that think that. But I honestly think that Burns is going to win against him and he's gonna win easily. I just think that Belal is like he hits hard, don't get me wrong. He has really good takedown defense. It's just that I think like fight IQ wise, like Gilbert Burns has a better fight IQ and he's just more well rounded. And including his striking as well, which obviously he won't want to strike much against Belal. Belal knows he's going to get the takedown or he's going to shoot for the takedown for sure. But you never know. With the Jorge Masvidal fight, Burns kind of stood up there for a while before doing those takedowns. So anyways, point is that I'm not too excited about this fight. I'm going to go to Dustin real quick. Dustin, who do you think is going to win this co-main event?
I think Bilal's a little bit better than people give him credit for, to be honest. Like he's he's not the most popular fighter, but I mean I've watched that dude since I remember he was on the prelims, man. He's a really good, he's a technical, well-rounded guy. There's I'm not gonna say he's a master of one thing, but he's good at many. Like he can fight on the ground, he can fight standing up, he can finish you, he can do certain things to you. Now the thing is that I would give Gilbert Burns over Bilal is if they get into striking exchanges that are if they meet in the middle of the octagon and they get in exchanges and he let Burns inside, that's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Burns is a much better brawler. I think he's a much better trade punch guy. But if Bilal's smart and plays it smart, I think he can beat Gilbert Burns. It's just the fact of if he lets Burns get him into striking matches, or if he lets him, turn into kickboxing or boxing, I think that Burns has a better stand up.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, the only thing that I think Bilal might do slightly better is throw a kick. He might be able to throw kicks a little bit better than Gilbert Burns. He might be able to use some kickboxing, but other than that, Burns is really good on the ground. He's got a really short base. He's a short guy in a big weight division, and he has a really good base. He's really low to the ground, so he's not the easiest person just to put on the mat. Other than that, it's hard for me to pick this one because I like both of them. But if I was going to go with my gut, I don't think Bilal is taking out Gilbert Burns. I think Gilbert Burns is going to win this fight.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with Dustin. Now, Alec, who do you think is going to win this co-main event?
I think it's Gilbert Burns by decision. I kind of more side with you, Monique, for my reasoning. I love watching Belal Muhammad fight. I do. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he deserves. I don't. Probably the worst. He's still top 5, right? He's probably the worst out of the top 5 in the division, in my opinion. And that's. I'm not trying to be mean. I mean, I'm still putting him in my top 5. I'm not saying like I do for Jorge Masvidal, who's the most overrated fighter we've ever seen in UFC history, who never deserved to be in the top 5 in the first place. Belal Muhammad definitely earned his spot in that top 5. I just think Gilbert Burns is better. The way I look at this is Belal Muhammad is kind of the poor man's Gilbert Burns. He's kind of good at everything. Gilbert Burns is the far superior grappler. So that in that case, they're not really the same fighter. But Gilbert Burns and Belal are both one of those guys that can take the fight anywhere. It's just Gilbert Burns is better at everything Belal is good at. I mean, it's the same thing we talked about Usman versus Covington, right? Covington and Usman are both very, very good fighters. Usman's just better at everything Covington's good at. So that's how I see this fight. And, the one thing I would say is Belal's got power, so maybe he can get a knockout, but I think this goes decision. I think if Burns gets in trouble on his feet, he's going to shoot that takedown. I don't think he's going to stand there. He's certainly not going to tempt Belal like he did with Masvidal, because he was just proving Masvidal is the phony he is. My biggest concern with this fight is the very quick turnaround for Gilbert Burns. It is hard to do. I know he didn't take damage against Jorge Masvidal, but still, it's hard to stay in that kind of shape for this long. So that's my only worry for Gilbert Burns. Other than that, I think this is a decision victory, probably wins all 3 rounds.
All right. Thank you, Alec Carr, and thank you, Dustin Hunt, for your insights. Guys, I had to take the screen off because this is a very, very important fight that we're about to talk about, okay? So, a lot of people have been hyping up this fight for the past how many months since it's been rumored and then scheduled to actually take place. I think this is a bit more intimate, us talking like this without the big screen and our little heads down the center, to the side. So let's talk about this main event. We have Aljamain Sterling, who is the current UFC bantamweight champion, versus Henry Cejudo, who was a former double division champ. And yeah, I honestly, here's the thing. I'm going to go last because I have a few thoughts on this fight. I'm going to go to Alec first. Alec, it's a pretty easy question. Who do you think is going to win this fight?
It's an easy question with a hard answer, though, right? Aljo's been kind of. I hate calling people this. It like literally pains me. Mm-hmm. But he's essentially been the definition of a paper champ, right? He's champ on paper, sure. TJ Dillashaw came in with a seriously injured shoulder. Petr Yan won every round after giving him rounds. Yan lost the first fight with an illegal knee, a fight that he was clearly winning. The fight before he fought for the championship, Corey Sandhagen, was a different version of the Corey Sandhagen we see today. He's champ, and he's a really good fighter. He's a really good fighter. You can't make it to be paper champ without being a really good – you still have to be a really good fighter. Mm-hmm. Henry Cejudo's taking a pretty big risk here, stepping up in weight class even further. He's the much smaller guy. Here is my thing, though. When it comes down to it, Henry Cejudo, the last time we saw him, was a fucking monster. Mm-hmm. People seem to have forgotten just how good Henry Cejudo was. We're talking about the guy that beat Mighty Mouse. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the guy that has little to no takedown. He's hardly ever been taken down in UFC history. Mm-hmm. Henry Cejudo is an Olympic wrestler. Henry Cejudo worked on his striking game after the first Mighty Mouse fight, got much better, developed power out of nowhere. But I think his power is kind of negated stepping up in such a heavy weight class for him. Aljamain Sterling is a really good fighter. He can fight on his feet. He's got good striking. He's got good wrestling. He's not a better wrestler than Henry Cejudo. Anyone who's saying that, please do not follow them on Twitter. Do not give them the credit that they're worth. Aljamain Sterling is not a better wrestler than Henry Cejudo. My issue is Aljo's reach, right? And I know we're getting into semantics here, but Aljo's reach is 71 inches. Henry Cejudo's is 67. Mm-hmm. For Cejudo to do this, he has to get on the inside in the probably the biggest height disparity and length disparity he's ever faced. And a guy that it pains me to say, because Aljo is actually the king of cringe, not Henry Cejudo, because Aljo doesn't even try. Henry Cejudo tries to be the king of cringe, right? He tries to be cringy. But for all of his faults, Aljamain Sterling is incredibly good at keeping fighters on the outside. So I think this is going to be a much better fight than I myself originally thought. I think it's going to go all 5. I think that in order for Henry Cejudo to win, he's going to have to work on getting on the inside. He's going to have to feint that takedown, come up with strikes. Feint that takedown, come up with strikes. Go to the legs early, and then work the takedowns. Work the takedowns. Get him down. I think once Henry Cejudo gets Sterling down the first time, this fight might be a wrap after that, because now he's building confidence. The other thing Henry Cejudo has for him is probably one of the highest fight IQs we've ever seen in UFC history. I mean, this guy is one of the smartest fighters we have ever seen. Just watch his fight breakdowns. I mean, it's absolutely incredible how he breaks down fights. No wonder John Jones wanted to go be coached by him. Like Henry Cejudo is coaching John Jones. I mean, I know they're technically just part of the same camp, but John Jones credits Henry Cejudo with a lot of his improvements while going up to heavyweight. So Henry Cejudo wrestles with heavyweights. I think Cejudo wins. I think the beginning rounds are going to be really tough for him, though. The first 2 rounds in particular are going to be really hard to watch because he's going to struggle to get inside. But once he does get inside, I think he's going to run away with it. So I'm picking Henry Cejudo in a unanimous decision. I think he wins, but I think we see this go all 5 rounds for sure.
All right, Dustin, man, what do you think about this main event? Who do you think is going to win?
Cejudo. And I'm going to tell you why. When people talk about Cejudo's height, I think of Volkanovski and what Volkanovski said. He's like, I've been short all my fucking life. He's like, this shit ain't never changed. He's like, through every sport I've been through, any wrestling, rugby, what he was talking about, wrestling, rugby, whatever you want to say, I've always been smaller than guys. I've always been shorter. Henry Cejudo has always been smaller. Always. Even in wrestling, some of the guys he probably wrestled, he was probably smaller, had shorter arms, this and that. Henry Cejudo does not have a problem with size advantage. I'm going to be completely honest. Now, Aljamain Sterling, Dominic Cruz is more shifty than Aljamain Sterling. And to be honest with you, Henry Cejudo still got on. I'm going to be honest. Dominic Cruz is probably one of the most elusive targets in MMA, especially in his prime. And Henry Cejudo got on his ass. Like, I'm just going to be real. He's going to do the exact same thing he did to Dominic Cruz, kick his ass straight in his knee. Every time he keeps walking around, every time he keeps shifting, because he's going to be on his bike against Henry Cejudo. He's not going to stay there. He's going to keep running. He's going to keep shifting directions. And Henry Cejudo's going to do exactly what he did to Dominic Cruz. I'm going to kick his ass right in his knee. I'm going to kick him in his shins. I'm going to kick him in his knees. I'm going to be patient. And we're going to get it. And I don't think Aljamain Sterling is even close to being as good of a striker as Cejudo. Especially now. Maybe earlier in Cejudo's career, maybe. But now, no, I don't think he is. And John Jones even said about Cejudo, he is one of the most disciplined fighters he's ever been around. And he was like, when it comes to technique, when it comes to the way he works out, and the way he carries himself, he's the most technical guy. He's been training with Mighty Mouse. John Jones, dude, he didn't take 2 years off. He just took 2 years off with no damage. He took 2 years off with no damage. You're good. He took 2 years off with no damage. He has not got punched in the face for real in like years. This dude is healthy. He has no injuries. He's chilling. He got fat for a little bit, and he's kicking it, man. And now he's ready to go. It is what it is. And like the biggest thing about Sterling is just like Colby and Usman. I think Cejudo's better at everything Aljamain's good at.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's exactly, and I don't think he's taking Cejudo's back. I don't think he's doing any of that. So therefore, in my complete opinion, Cejudo I don't think he's even going to have a hard time with Aljamain Sterling. If you ask me, I don't even think it's going to be a hard time. I think he wins probably at least 3-2, 4-1 decisions. I don't know if he gets the finish, but if he does get the finish, it'd probably be in the third or fourth. But I think he's gonna win handedly, dude. I mean, I'd give him decision 4-1, 3-2. 4-1's being a little bit generous, but I think he's getting a 3-2 decision. If not, I think 80%, 70% chance 4-1 in my opinion. I think he's gonna sweep him most of that fight, if you ask me.
All right.
So before we go to you, Monique, because I want to get your thoughts in full, because I know you have a lot on this. I just want to make a quick comment. And Dustin, this is not something that needs to be responded to, but I will point out that Volkanovski really struggled and definitely lost that first fight against Max Holloway.
Okay.
So he learned going forward, but the first time he fought a much taller fighter, he really struggled.
Okay. Okay, so I will go off that. and talk about what I think about this. Maybe I should put Monique's rant of the week or something like that, because this is kind of like a rant that I'm about to say. So, I mean, we all need rants of the week. I feel like all three of us sometimes, but Alec more so than others for some reason. So, okay, here's my thing when it comes to this fight. I have Cejudo winning. I think he's the much smarter fighter. Here's the thing also, Aljamain Sterling has proven, even though he's a paper champ, he does have, decent fight IQ. And then we saw that in the match against Jan. So, like, I can't ignore that going into this fight, right? And my thing is that Cejudo's fight IQ is just going to outclass and outshine Aljamain Sterling. When it comes to the skill levels, both men are very good fighters, but there's always one fighter that has more discipline, more technique, more of this and that, and that's Henry Cejudo at the end of the day. I think that Aljamain Sterling, even though he's, defended his belt a couple times, which is obviously an honorable mention here and there, but I think that Henry Cejudo has faced tougher competition in both divisions, in both flyweight and bantamweight. He's faced Dominic Cruz, he's faced Mighty Mouse, which we talked about, and I think that Aljamain Sterling, even though he's faced someone like Jan, who was the champion at one point, like, it's just the caliber of the fighters that Henry Cejudo has faced has just been incredible. And I think that you can't ignore that as well when it comes to judging this fight. Now, with Alec's point talking about the size, the disparity between the both fighters, I honestly think that I'm on Dustin's side a little bit about talking about the fact that I don't think there's going to be much of a problem. I think Cejudo knows how to get into the inside. I know he's smart enough to know to do that in this fight, and so I don't really see much of a problem. I think that Cejudo, I don't know, would you say dominates this whole fight, but I think it's going to be closer than what many people think. Now, I know MMA Jesus 420 saying Aljo by sub. He's really adamant on Aljamain Sterling winning, but I just have to disagree with that, unfortunately. Sorry, MMA Jesus 420. I think we all kind of disagree on that on some level. I just think that Cejudo is the smarter fighter at the end of the day, and that is proven to be one of the most important things when it comes to judging fighters in the octagon is fight IQ, and I think that should not be overturned by anything else. So that's my kind of rant of the week. That's what I think. Alec, Dustin, do you guys have any thoughts on what I had to say?
I just want to clarify this. I think Cejudo's going to struggle in the first and maybe the first 2 rounds, because I think he's going to get hit with leg kicks, because we know Aljamain Sterling can keep people on the outside. It's one thing he's good at. And getting on the inside is not even for the best fighters in the world, getting on the inside is not an easy thing to do on a fighter like Aljo. It's just not. So I think probably the first 2 rounds are going to look a little rough. But then once Cejudo gets on the inside, he's going to live there.
Yeah.
I agree with Alec, because go watch the Dominic Cruz fight with Henry. Henry did not exactly get there. I think Alec is honestly correct. And Monique, I agree with all your points when it comes to that, because I think me and you are on the same page. I think he's better, in my opinion. But here's my thing about it. Alec is right in the way of if Aljamain's going to win a round in that fight, it's going to be the first one. Mm-hmm. Because Henry's going to have to gauge him. Aljamain's going to keep him out probably. But rewatch the Dom fight, and I'm telling you right now, Cejudo will get to that target eventually. It's going to happen. Henry Cejudo broke down Dominic Cruz throughout rounds. He couldn't catch him in the first. He couldn't catch him in the second. He broke him down. He was inching closer and closer and closer. He came with patience, and finally, he got his ass. Like, it's not like TJ Dillashaw where he just got him. But it comes to a point where he slowed him down. He was disciplined. He's patient. He wasn't looking for a first or second round finish. He was willing to break the fighter down and get to the target. Henry Cejudo will do that again. It's going to happen again. He will break him down. He'll get close eventually. It may not happen the first. It may not even happen the second. But third, fourth championship rounds, it's going to happen. And Aljamain is not going to take him down. It's not going to happen. It's going to end up being a stand-up fight unless Cejudo wants to bring his ass to the floor. That's exactly how I see it. But I agree with Alec in the sense if Aljamain's going to probably win in the early round, it's going to happen. I really think the first or second round, maybe it splits the first two, but I think Aljamain's best chance to win a round is in the first round.
Yeah, and that's my only point with this. To our commenter, I just want to remind everybody real quick, who Henry Cejudo is. He's the youngest gold medalist in Olympic history. He was 21. That record may never be broken.
It's never gonna. Never.
21 years old. Gold medal in the Olympics in the 121 division. That's
never.
People need to understand just how ridiculous that is. I mean, usually the guys winning gold medal are in their 30s. I mean, like
take some like 3 Olympic trials, man.
Yeah, it takes a long ass time. Henry Cejudo. I mean, then we're talking about a guy that Demetrius struggled with, and lost to in one fight. We're talking about a guy that continues to learn, continues to get better. Now, I know we haven't seen him in the octagon in a long time, but he has not stopped training. And he also said, I just want to point this out, that after he becomes Triple C, he wants to become C4. So he's kind of already calling out Volkanovski, which would be, I think, a terrible decision for him to jump up 3 weight classes to go fight one of the best fighters we've ever seen. I don't even want to get there, but let's worry about this fight first. I listen. I hope he wins. You guys know how I feel about Aljo. I hope and think that he does win this fight. Can you imagine how insufferable Aljamain Sterling will be if he pulls this off? Oh my God. I wouldn't be able to watch it. I wouldn't be able to watch the division anymore. I just wouldn't. It would be so
I will block Aljamain Sterling on Twitter if he wins. I swear to God. This is the first time I've ever blocked any fighter. But if Aljamain Sterling beats Henry Cejudo, I will block him. And Israel Adesanya was close. About that 3-1 shit with the fucking Pereira. He was close. I was about to get rid of his ass. I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. But Aljamain Sterling might be next. He might be next if he beats Henry Cejudo. I didn't block Izzy, by the way. I love him to death. Not as a fighter, though, because when I watch him fight, I'm bored as fuck. But I like him as a person. But I'll tell you right now, Aljamain's getting blocked. He beats Cejudo. That's going to happen. I cannot see that shit.
I know we're running out of time, but I'm just interested in this. What happens to Aljo if he loses?
I don't know. Move up to 155 with your big ass. Go fight Volk with your big ass, matter of fact. Because don't tell me your big ass can't make 145. Well, please don't tell me that. He absolutely can't.
If he loses to Cejudo, they're not going to give him an immediate title shot at featherweight.
Go fight Max Holloway. Go fight Arnold. Is what it is. Max Holloway been whooping Volkanovski's all his contenders' ass. I mean, someone's got to beat Max Holloway. Someone's got to do it. Now, Jermaine Sterling, go ahead and hump him to death. I don't know what you got to do, but I'm with that too, because get the Max Holloway the fuck out of 145. Like, please get him some steak. I don't know what.
Oh my God! If Aljo fought Max Holloway, it would be Calvin Kattar on steroids. He'd break the strike record for sure in that fight.
Man, Aljamain. Hey, Brian Ortega. I ain't gonna lie. Fucking when he beat the shit out of Brian Ortega, I was like, I felt bad for Brian Ortega. I was sitting up there like, damn, he's over here teaching you how to block a punch. I was like, that was terrible. In the middle of the fight, and then he slaps you after that. That was disgusting. That was just brutal. You didn't have to do that to Brian Ortega. But I'm actually happy that when he broke my girl Tracy's heart, hey, when I watched that fight over again, I'm just like, yeah, man, beat his motherfucking.
guys, I was there live for that fight.
For real? Wow.
I was there to see Brian Ortega get his ass whooped by Max Holloway. Yep, I was right there. And boy, was I wrong, because I was on the Brian Ortega train at that time. But
I don't know how I would act in a live MMA event. I'm gonna be completely honest. I have zero idea how I'd take a live MMA event. That'd be
Guys,
crazy.
it's crazy. You guys gotta get yourselves to a main event, especially a pay-per-view one. It's insane. Anyways, thank you both my co-hosts Alec Carr, Dustin Hunt, as also my beautiful followers and commenters, MMA Jesus 420 and Boxing MMA 365. Thank you for your comments. I know we don't always agree, but that's part of the reason why we do this show, and we like our discussions and our engagement. You can follow our handles. Dustin's handle is No Censor Sports on Twitter. Alec Carr is Alec Carr MMA, and then my handle is at Monique Yip. And as well, please follow Fights Unwrapped. Fights USN is our handle on Twitter. Fights Unwrapped is our handle both on Instagram, Facebook. Both Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So please subscribe and like to our channel as well. We upload all these streams every week, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you for everybody who is watching all around the world. Thank you so much. We have a fight night next weekend, which is, I know, it's not the greatest, but hey, it's my birthday weekend. So you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to promote the hell out of it. It's going to be Jairzinho Rosenstruck versus Jalen Almeida. And then we also have Anthony Smith, Johnny Walker, and then Daniel Rodriguez, Ian Gary, Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill, Tim Means, Alex Moreno, and way more fighters. So I know it's not the greatest card, but hey, it falls on my birthday weekend, so we're going to definitely promote that next week. So thank you guys for watching, and everybody have a happy fight week. Thanks, guys.